This week's episode is sponsored by Lemon Creative Media. From graphic designs to multimedia and logo design, these lads have got over 50 years experience in print and media. For all your quality prints, flyers, brochures and stationery. They also do animation, illustration, video promotions, signage and banner stands. You'll find loads of their work on Instagram. Give them a follow, Lemon Creative Media. Thanks. Hello everybody and welcome to the Billy Moore podcast, and today's special guest is Stephen Swifty Schmidt. How are you, mate?
Good, mate, yeah. You?
Brilliant, thanks for coming on.
No problem.
So how's life since you retired?
You know what, it was a strange one because I sort of deep down had a feeling I was retired when this COVID started.
Yeah.
I was lying in bed with Jade and just said, you know what, I think I'm done. And she was like, what? Because obviously my life's been boxing. I give everything I have to it. Everyone who knows me knows how often I train and how much I do. And I just had the feeling. I was thinking, no, 34. It's not the right time to be having this like a pandemic and thought, and no one was sure how bad it was going to be and how long it was going to last. So I thought, it's not really the right time to be having a year out of the gym and out of boxing, no fights and stuff. And I sort of had a feeling. So I hadn't boxed for like over a year when it happened, then a year and a half.
Yeah.
And then I was literally just putting a thing on Instagram just saying it was like 13 years ago, maybe my debut. And I had a few messages asking me when I was going to fight. So I thought, you know what, I probably know I'm not going to. Someone's going to announce me retirement. And when I wrote it, I probably felt like I got a bit emotional, you know what I mean? I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. Like, even though I knew it was the end, sort of writing down it was the end, it made me emotional. But I was glad I'd done it because I felt like I got a few thank yous out there, but I probably never would have got the chance to say, you know what I mean? Everyone who's come and watched me, supported me, and everyone who's helped me, training with me and trained me. So I thought, no, I've got a little message, like a little chance to give a message and say thank you.
Yeah.
So I was happy I'd done it, but my phone never stopped for days. It was overwhelming, the message I was getting.
It's good when you put you got that closure.
Yeah.
Because it's like, when you're indecisive around something and you want to make the right decision, and it's like, is it right, is it wrong, what do I do? But I always felt that when I've wrote something down and I've read it back to myself before I've shared it, I felt that's it. That's a full stop on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, like for that I said, I knew in my own head I was done. By the second lockdown, I was thinking, I'm not going to fight again. And I sort of knew myself. I was in Texas with Callum when he fought Canelo, and everyone there in the boxing community obviously was seeing me saying, what are you doing? I was like, nah, I'm done, I think. Can't even fighting again. I said, if I got a big opportunity, you know what I mean? If Callum was to have beat Canelo and come back and done a big Anfield, Bill, I'd go straight in the gym and been on it.
Yeah.
But I was like, nah, I think when I left Texas, I thought, nah, I think I'm done.
You finished.
Yeah, I'd seen the box people and I told a lot of people. And then, as I say, but even still, when I come to actually announcing it 6 months later, it still felt emotional, but I'm happy I've done it, you know what I mean? It's real, it's been a closure for me now, when everyone sees me now and just go congrats on your retirement and sort of, no one's sort of what's happening? Any fights? Who are you fighting next? What do you reckon on him? And it's sort of they leave me be now, you know what I mean? Let me carry on, just enjoy myself.
Well, you come from a big family of boxers as well, don't you? So, what was it like growing up with all brothers? Because I come from a big family myself, but there was only me that was kind of interested in the boxing.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was my dad always had sort of an interest in boxing, so we sort of grew up around boxing all the time, even though none of us were boxing. There was always my dad got the boxing news religiously every week. He'd have it.
Was he a boxer, your dad?
He had to go as a kid, but not on a few amateur fights, you know what I mean? But not on he wasn't really that level stuck to it, but he always enjoyed the boxing. He watched all the fights and that. He's a boxing fan, so he's always brought the boxing news and all that. And then, so we grew up sort of reading the boxing news and stuff. So I sort of knew about Sugar Ray Leonard and loved him. We used to watch the video. Video was the Fabulous Four, and that was on in our house. Haynes, Hagler, Gerard and Leonard, and that was on in our house every day. And I say he was like my hero before he even boxed. Sugar Ray Leonard, I love watching him because of this video. And Paul just sort of we lived right by the Rotunda in Kirkdale, so Paul was sort of out and about with his mates, went in there. So I was just like any younger brother, followed on, wants to do what he's done. And then went from there. Me and Paul were sort of in then and boxing and competing, and Paul won a national title 97 or something, and I won it me first year, 98. And then once we were both like sort of boxing for England, Liam and Callum sort of followed on then, because Liam didn't follow on from me. He didn't want to do it, he wants to play football, Liam. And Callum started, so when Callum started, I think it was just peer pressure, everyone was like, when are you going to start? Come on, get in, Will, you know what I mean? He was like, nah, 40 for me. And like, Albo used to wind him up, say, yeah, you shit house and all that, give him a little bit. And he was a little hard case, Liam, you know what I mean? Wow, I'll fight with any of them, no one of them. And then in the end, he went, you know what, I'll get in, I'll fight, but I'm not eating on that pasta, than I used to say. So then he got in. He come in at first and said, can I just fight and not train?
Yeah.
And Albo was like, it's not how it works,
Can you just come, can
I just turn up for the fight? Let me know when I'm fighting, I'll turn up, he used to say. And Albo was like, look, it's not how it works, lads. You get in the gym and you learn. And he got in. And to be fair, Liam was probably the quickest to fight out of us, because he was boxing all the time. You know, when we grew up, we would just always get in from school, get the gloves on, we'd spar with each other. And we used to have like two were fighting, one would be the ref, one was the judge, and it was just all day until my mum come in. And my mum come in, we just had the gloves and pretend we weren't fighting, all red faces. But it was the best upbringing I wouldn't have changed.
And he's probably one of the best coaches in the UK, Albo, weren't he?
Albo was unbelievable. It's one of them. Anyone who knows him knows how good he was and how his knowledge of boxing. His knowledge of boxing was unbelievable. Like, for a fella who wasn't the brightest, I mean, when he died, he still couldn't spell my name. He was writing me workouts on the board. Not really, he still read Stephen wrong. He was such a funny man, such a character. Everyone who knew him liked him, but his knowledge of boxing was unbelievable. Yeah. When I know things he was teaching me as a kid, what sort of like, come on, and we're big in the boxing game, like years later, and you think like, wow, he was telling me that as a kid. No, like he just sort of, he had a weird like encyclopedic mind of boxing where he knew sort of every in and out of the game without sort of like bragging about it, know what I mean? He knew what he knew, and he was what he was, and he'd still, his character was brilliant. How he treated every fella different, but he was like, he wasn't just a one-trick pony where he got it, you do this, and do this. He'd know when to like give a kid a bit of a G up and call him a bit, and he'd know when to put his arm right and say, yeah, well done, you know what I mean? He was a brilliant,
coach. See, I remember like growing up, and I joined, it was the St. Ambrose, I don't know if you remember it back then. Yeah. It was the St. Ambrose ABC, then they got sponsored by Gemini, and so I was with the original Gemini, which was then St. Ambrose. And I remember how insecure I felt and how uncomfortable and peculiar I felt going in the gym, you know, because there was all big lads, you know, you had all the Wallies back then that were in speaking, they were there was
all fight, couldn't he? Yeah.
There was like yourself, they were a big family, so you felt like I had to feel like I had to fit in and that. But if you've got a good coach and someone who's going to steer in the right direction, that's a big thing, you know what I mean?
Definitely, and having that sort of, that is what I think separates the coaches for me. It's just sort of having someone who can, as you say, make you feel comfortable in the gym, not make you feel daunted when you walk in and think, oh, like there's loads of good fighters in here, and you can just, boxing, as you know, is the most loneliest sport in the world at times. You can cower away from it and think, nah, not for me, Dad. Especially if you're a kid. Yeah. Mum, I'm not going to go today. Dad, I want to leave today. And then the minute you start missing it, that's it, you're done. Whereas if you get in and a coach makes you feel comfortable, and, you know, that's what Albo could do. He knew when to compliment you, when to say, yeah, class that lad. And then he knew when to go, shit, you know what I mean? And you'd be like, what? And you'd be trying your best. But he had that way, and that's a good coach to me. A good coach is someone who knows how to treat the kids, especially with kids, how to treat the kids at the right time, when to, you know, push him and when to put their arm around him and say, yeah, lad, you had enough, go home tonight. Yeah. And then that's what sort of he had just to a T, just in himself, just naturally. He was just so charismatic, the fella, where he knew his boxer and he knew how to get the best out of him. And that's something what, like, I think's lost on a lot of them today, a lot of these strength conditions, you know what I mean?
I think I see that. It's more of a business now, isn't it? Yeah. It's not more of a, see, when I remember John Naylor saying to me, you're going to go far, Bill. I was going, yeah, really? He said, yeah, because you've got a long way to go. Yeah. You know, and that was just how real it was. And, you know, he didn't look like he was in physical shape to be boxing, so you could easily judge, you know, but like you said, the brains and the knowledge that he had.
I get even old nowadays. I'm not one of them, like, in the past was better and all that. What I'm saying, like, I believe in all, like, no, sports science nowadays is there for a reason, and it's very good, and they know how to get the best out of people, and that's where you get all the strength conditioners coming in, the nutritionists and stuff. And I'm not knocking nutritionists. I think it's the best thing about the sport. If you don't do your nutrition properly, you're not going to do 12 rounds at a good enough pace to be world level. And I swear by it, your nutrition is you know, right up there with the most important things. But as you know, in boxing, you've got to have the law. If you're not mentally strong enough, you'll never do it. If your nutrition is not right, you'll never do it. But if you don't, you know, have the first and foremost, the main thing, what's been there for years, as in you put the effort in the gym and you're willing to do it, and you're good enough, then you won't do it anyway. So it is a combination of all. But I just think nowadays, we went through an era, like, of recent, I think it was sort of when, like, the time Pacquiao come on the scene and you had like Alex Ariza and stuff, and all these strength conditioners sort of surfaced from everywhere then and started like getting involved in the sport. And because they were spending that much time with the boxers, they started thinking, well, do you know what, I may as well train you. What's the point in you having your box coach? I may as well train you. Then all of a sudden, you've got these strength conditioning fellas who've got no knowledge about boxing in the corner with boxers, and I think that's sort of when it took a downward slide. But then I do feel like it's getting back on a level service now, where you're getting good coaches coming back into play, and you're seeing them nowadays. You know, there's not as many as there was years ago, but there still is some good coaches out there.
Yeah, and I remember years ago, we never had no nutrition, no diet given to us.
That's what I mean,
just turns up
your
at
boxing
the gym.
coach is your boxing coach. He'd say, look, go home, you've got 3 pounds to lose, or, you know, that's it. So all these numbers, it was like, one went over to me and said, like, listen, you've got to do this, you've got to eat this, and got to eat this when you get home. He'd just say, yeah, I'm going to ring your ma and tell her, no cake for you, no, like, I'm just laughing, joke about it, and just say, look, watch your weight, you're going a bit heavy. Never, no, he knew it was kids, so it was not like over the top. And I know as you get older, you've got to adjust and stuff, but that's where the nutritionists come in, and I agree with that side of it.
Yeah. So would you believe, like, as you go through the amateur stages, and then you go into professional, so you went from amateur, you've done really well.
Yeah.
As an amateur, you all did.
Yeah,
like,
no,
brilliant.
definitely. And I think it was one of them where, you know, we wouldn't probably sit and change anything, but all of us enjoyed our amateur careers, and most people do. You know, as you can speak to any top pros now, and they'll all tell you they enjoyed the amateur career, however well they've done. Because it's weird, but it's sort of like the pro game becomes a business and becomes a bit of a lonely sport. And I say that's where we were lucky having my brothers always with me, always doing it. Sort of took that aspect away from it. But it still is it's a business, do you know what I mean? It's about money and what promoters can earn and what tickets can be sold. And all money comes into it then, whereas in the amateurs, you're travelling around as a team, just trying to win a medal. And it's basically that, top and bottom. And like the camaraderie and the team thing comes into it a lot more in the amateurs, and that's why everyone's got good fond memories, the amateurs, whatever level you got to, whether you were an Olympic gold medalist, whether you won the Commonwealth Games, whether you boxed for your country, or whether you were like an ABA champion, whatever it was, it sort of brought back up fond memories for you because you know what went into it. If you won an ABA title, it weren't just you turn up at your gym, training yourself, and then turn up at the fight, winning and becoming an ABA champion. You knew all went into it, all your sparring partners who helped you, all the people that trained you and pushed you, the people who trained with you, pushing you.
It's a team.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And the amateur boxing is a team sport. As much as it's you in the ring having the fight, there's a lot that goes into it, and it's a team. And especially when you do get to internationally, because your team, whether it be GB or England, is your team. When you've got, like, from your light fly up to your super heavies, you've got a team of boxers, and you all push each other, and you all want to do well. You just want to come out on top as the top team, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? So it is very more about the team than yourself.
Yeah, and I feel kind of like I regret a lot of my past because I joined boxing when I was about 12, 13, and that was just to impress me dad. And my dad, like your dad, he used to have ring magazines, he used to have pictures of John Conte on the wall. Yeah. What's his name? Because my half fella looked like this boxer. Anyway, he'll come back to me. And he's always trying to impress on me about getting involved. Yeah. But it wasn't for me. I remember like growing up on karate movies. Yeah. Fucking Bruce Lee. Yeah. I was doing somersaults in the neighbour's garden.
We all started, like our Paul started that. Paul went to karate. So I was just following, went along, went there. I didn't do anything. And Paul, like, you know, had all the gear and I was doing it. And I was going to a kickboxing as well. We tried a few things, but sort of as soon as we were old enough, went into the boxing. Because you couldn't join the boxing until you were 10. Yeah. And we were going along and they were going, you're too young. And in the end, I went in when I was 9 and Blacked I was 10. And Albo knew, but just like winked at me down. Go on, lads, if you're 10, you can start. And one of them. And I always thought he never knew, no laughing. And it was sort of like done other things, other sports, but always sort of waiting until we were allowed to box. And once we were allowed to box, it sort of like went from there.
Yeah, because I was lucky enough to like watch all the greats back in the 80s. Yeah. I was a kid of the 80s, born in the 70s, a kid of the 80s, and I watched Haynes, Hagler, Duran, and he was my favourite, Duran, Roberto Duran. I just had loads of admiration for him.
Unbelievable fighter, isn't he?
Yeah, and your Callum reminds me of Hearns.
Yeah.
Thomas.
Similar build.
He's got a similar
height and that, yeah.
Yeah, that style of boxing as well. So, no, I think who was yours? Who did you kind of favour? Tyson?
I love Leonard. Tyson was like always a hero when I was my dad loved Tyson. Tyson's fights were always on, and we all loved Tyson. So we all grew up and we loved watching Tyson. He was an absolute animal, and still say to this day, you know, a young Mike Tyson beats any heavyweight.
Yeah, definitely.
In my opinion, all of them. And funny you said about the Fab Four again. I, as a kid, where that video was all on, I hated Duran. Didn't like him because he beat Leonard, and Leonard was like me, you know. Same as I got a bit older when Holyfield beat Tyson. Didn't like Holyfield. And only as you get a bit older, you sort of know your boxing and you have a lot of respect. Like unbelievable fighter about Duran. It's always Evander Holyfield. Evander Holyfield, like unifying the cruiserweight division, which was unbelievable cruiserweight. To go on to heavyweight and be as good as heavyweight as he was, he's an unbelievable fighter. But I just didn't like him when he beat Tyson. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of like. When you show your loyalties to a fighter, and when they lose,
it's misguided.
Yeah, I used to love Naz as a kid, and when Barrera beat him, I was like, didn't like Barrera. Every time Barrera come on, I was like, don't like him.
Nazima, yeah.
As you get older, you realise how good the fight he was, and Barrera Morales is probably my favourite fight of all time. Do you know what I mean? And it just shows you where, like, so once you start knowing your boxing, you're watching it, you sort of have a lot more respect for them, and you realise like the careers they had, and know what I mean, how good he was.
Yeah. So how did you find going from like the amateurs to the professional?
It was at the time, especially it was a big transition, especially sort of, and I'm not sort of like trying to ask for any praise for our generation, but our era coming through at that time was sort of 4-2s, computer scoring, and it was very like fencing. It was hit and move, and you know when you were up, you moved around and you didn't get it, and it wasn't. And you went to a pro game, which was all about slipping inside and banging the body and rolling shots and banging again and taking shots on the arms, which you just didn't do in the amateurs in that era what I was in. It was sort of fencing, it move, and don't get it, arms or not, and just don't get it, let them touch you, they can't score. And the computer scoring system for 4 2-minute rounds was so different to the pro point system.
Yeah.
Over your 4-3s, 6-3s, 8-3s, 10-3s up to 12-3s. So it was a big transition for me, but I always sort of had the confidence. I knew I could fight like that. I knew I could plant my feet and throw the body shots and stuff when I wanted.
Yeah.
I just sort of, because when I boxed in a junior ABAs onwards, I think like a schoolboy, I was always a proper boxer, moving my legs, and then in juniors, I sort of like started realising I was quite good. I was winning national titles every year.
Yeah.
Like from starting boxing, I won my first national title. Only fight I lost sort of up until about 16, 17. Domestic, I lost in the junior B national final to Kevin Mitchell, and then I won the intermediate and won senior. So I won 3 of the 4 schoolboys and lost in the other national final to Kevin Mitchell. And he won all 4. He was a top schoolboy.
He's undefeated as well.
Yeah, he was a really good fight. He hadn't lost at the time. So he won the juniors. None of us in our house ever lost a junior fight. You know, me and my brothers. And then NABCs, I won Class A. I lost in the national semi, Class B, to Frankie Gavin, and I won Class C. So right up until I'm a senior schoolboy, I never lost 2 fights in the championships. One was to Kevin Mitchell and one was to Frankie Gavin, and both of them were class act himself. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Frankie Gavin was the best amateur I ever shared the ring, but he was absolutely unbelievable.
It's a shame. I used to wonder what happened to I mean, I've met Kevin a few times. Used to go to our gym.
Yeah.
Down Walton, but it's just a shame that he never had that.
Do you know what he called? He
his weight, weren't it?
Yeah, I think he had a bit of a bad luck with his fights and stuff, but he was sort of, I don't know, the Katsidas fight, wasn't it? I think where he sort of, his first big opportunity, and it just sort of didn't go right for him. I don't know what happened in the build, whatever, but something wasn't right with him. You could sort of see that, and it wasn't there. And then he sort of burst back on the scene, beating, my mate at the time, John Murray. I was in the same gym as John. And it was an unbelievable fight in Liverpool, 16th July it was, and it was an unbelievable fight. And he sort of thought, now he's back, now he burst on the scene, he was back there, he had a good winning against the undefeated Murray. I think Murray was like 33-0 at the time. And it was an unbelievable fight, won then, and you thought, yeah, he's back, you'll probably see the best of him now.
Yeah.
And he went on, he beat Prescott, didn't he, after he beat Khan, so it was like, you thought, oh yeah, he's back now, do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then he sort of tapered off. He lost to Ricky Burns, didn't he? And it was one of them. I don't think sort of you'd have thought of him growing up like if to say he wouldn't have been world champion would have been a bit of a shock, because I think he was an unbelievable fighter. He had a really good pro start, he had a big left hand, he couldn't have point. I think he was a left-handed orthodox. Yeah. Kevin, and he could
there was a lot. I think there was a lot like that growing up.
Yeah.
You know, like you had you could box and just never had the opportunity to go any further.
Yeah, do you know what? There was going back on that sort of same subject. Like there'll never be anyone to me like as an amateur. Frankie Galvin was unbelievable. Like things he done, like the fight I seen him win 20-0 on that point system and just like not get it. It's just his footwork was so good. He used to just float around the ring and then obviously he had the thing where I fell for him, at the Olympics, where he won the world title. He's still the only ever a Brit to win a world gold medal, and he won it in November. I was with him in Chicago, and boxed unbelievable. Beat a double Olympic gold medalist in Alexei Dichenko in the semis. Brilliant performances right the way through. He boxed 6 times to win the title, won the gold, but then sort of had to sit and wait until August, like 9 months later, to then go and compete in the Olympics. So it's a long time for the body of a young man to
rest,
not make weight. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, weirdly enough, the ones who go to the next qualifiers and they'll qualify after that are probably sort of better suited going into the Olympics because of the sort of making weight and keeping as you was. And I think the sort of the period in the middle for Frankie didn't help him, and then by the end, say he failed weight. So it was a bit of a black mark against him turning pro, which sort of he didn't go pro sort of in the big lights what he probably should have, because he was probably the best amateur for me, but I don't think it suits him as much in a pro game, because I thought his footwork and his actual skill and ability, his boxing ability was the best in the amateurs, and when it comes into the pros, it's a bit more strength based and stuff. I don't think it suits Frankie as much. No, I don't think it suits him as much. And listen, he started a brilliant career. He won a British title outright, Commonwealth, and boxed for the world title. So again, he had an unbelievable career, but it was one of them where I think he's always best. My example of the amateur game suits him more, do you know what I mean? And it's just one of them, no shame in it.
John Lyons was the same, man. He was a great example of just amateur fights. He never went, I don't even, he won 7 ABAs. He was he was just finishing off as I was starting. He was a big hitter back in my day, and he never went any further, did he?
No, anyone who can do something like that, like consistently year on year, is just unbelievable consistency, especially in the sport. Like boxing's just so hard. Like people, if they haven't done it, that's what I always say about people say, can you have an opinion on boxing? Or if you haven't, of course you can. You can be a big boxing fan and you don't have to have done it, but only when you've done it you sort of understand the feeling of training and getting fit and getting yourself in a unbelievable shape. And basically sometimes you're overdoing, you're leaving the gym and you get in the gym and you get in the ring and it's a bad night. We're only humans, you can have a bad night. So for someone to do that and win 7 years, win ABA titles is unbelievable consistency. That was where you imagine, like, every couple of years you have a bad year, do you know what I mean? But he just sort of never seemed to have it. I wasn't around that time watching him, but
no idea what he's doing now.
Yeah. You know what I mean? No idea myself. No, he's a good fella. John, you see him around the scene when Craig used to box, his lads used to box with sort of same year as Paul. Yeah. And I think him and Paul went away in the same England teams, and he was a good fighter himself as well.
So there's like Paul and yourself are both decide.
Yeah.
So Liam and Callum are still
going. Yeah.
Still going.
Yeah.
So what's Callum's next step? Because I watched Stafford Stage Up and watched that.
Yeah.
And we knew, and everyone knew that was going to be a tough fight, because pound for pound,
he's unbelievable.
He is unbelievable. It was, and to be fair, to go the distance with him.
Yeah.
Was,
do you know what it was? It was sort of, you can look at that. It was a bit of an achievement in what the injury he was carrying.
It was an incredible achievement.
And he could have easily, added a way out, because everyone could see the injury. His muscle was torn.
Yeah.
He had a big lump on his arm. You could see it. And Canelo could see it and was talking about it in the ring and was saying it's that sore, and like swinging shots and going for it and stuff. And he had a way out. He could have easily got out the ring and said, look, arm's gone, bad luck, one of them, move on. No one's called him. Say him with the best fight in the world, but he never. He showed his bottomless toughness, and he got through the fight. He went to points with the best fighter on the planet on probably his worst night because of carrying an injury and stuff. But he went and he done it, and he's gone away now. He's sort of licked his wounds and he's healed up, and he's back in the gym now, and he's back training and ready to go again. He's going to go to Light Heavy now, and
is he?
He's going to he's planning on being a 2-weight world champion now. Yeah, because it's one of them. It's not like he was massive for super middle. I mean, he was the biggest super middle in the world, but he's sort of doing it himself of his own choice, just for opportunities, really.
He's tall for the super middle.
There's Canelo now trying to arrange and get these discussions going with Caleb Plant to unify the division, and that's his choice, rightly so. So you know, you sit around at super middleweight and wait, or just show your ambition and move up and wait and go and try and win another world title, and that's what he's doing. And you know, he's got all the tools to go and do it.
Yeah, he has. He's
confidence in him.
Definitely, you know, for all confidence in him to go up a weight and start winning titles at that level. What about Liam? Where's he? Because he's back in training now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's stayed back in. He obviously his last fight, he went to Russia and he was confident enough to go there and fight an undefeated fighter out there. But he fully believed in himself, and he thought, you know what, I'm the better man, and when we get in there, no, I'll show it. And I believe he did show it, but as much as we were promised beforehand, you'll get a fair crack and it won't be none of that. No, it's the same as ever. We know we're not naive enough to believe that, like, you know, we know how much it happens everywhere, and they can promise you all you want beforehand, you'll get a fair crack. But everyone's seen it. But you know what happened? He won that fight and he didn't get it. And I still haven't had the fella say to me that he never won. Do you know what I mean? So it's really tough for him to take. But it's been a little bit easier knowing the reaction when he's come home. He's never read an article saying he lost the fight. Everyone thinks he won it. You know what I mean? So hopefully these promoters can see that he actually won the fight and can sort of put something right and still give him the opportunity he would have got if he can't get the rematch.
It's there, because you're fighting in their backyard, and that, you know, and John Bryce can validate this. We went over, there was 14 Scousers that went over to the Islands years ago. Cavan, I mean, we're back in the 80s, and I boxed. I put this kid down on the first round, and it was compulsory in Ireland to wear head guards. We didn't wear head guards when we were fighting over here. So putting head guards on while you're in the ring over there, it's uncomfortable. It's you know, and it's getting pulled over your eyes, and it's just awkward. And all he did was come forward, put him down, bang, I lost. Right, that was my first loss. I was on a dinner shop in New Zealand, and 13 Scousers came home with losses, and you should have seen the scraps that we had. You know, it was a joke. So, you know, it does happen. You know, especially in their backyard, and you know, no one ever said to us, you know, I didn't get told I didn't perform well at all. Just got told I got robbed.
You know what happens? And it does happen, and I can't find a better way to say it, because when you're talking to a kid and a kid boxes on a club show and they get robbed,
it's horrible,
and it's so hard. Still, even the years I've seen it, home, abroad, amateur, professional, I've seen it all around the game. And I still don't really know what to say to them, apart from listen, you won, mate.
It is. It's the sign, and no matter what, I got
you
sold.
You can say, don't worry about it, but you know, for the fact the kid's going to go home and cry his eyes out, and it's still hard, and it's still hurt, but it happens.
I was broken hearted. I was just sitting on the boat going on thinking. And then I started, you know, that little voice telling me that I wasn't good enough.
Yeah, did I win it? Yeah,
did I win it? Are they just saying that to stroke my ego, make me feel better? And then your confidence is a bit lack.
But I think that about Liam. Liam travelled home was a bit like, well,
did I?
What's happened? Like, I can't believe it. How did he score? One fella scored it. Like, one of them had it really wide. It was embarrassing. And when we got home, he literally went in the house, put the fight on. No, tell a lie. We got picked up from the airport on like a big bus with like a telly on and that, and he put the fight on straight away. And he just sat in the way home watching it. And the minute it finished, you see in his face, like, he knew then. He was like, "Now, wow." Like,
so he knew.
How have I lost that fight? You know what I mean? And he knew himself, which made us a bit happier, because you don't want to seem like you're just sort of, you know, blowing smoke, saying, "Oh, you won that," when deep down he never. But once he seen it himself, I think that sort of justified it in his own mind that he knew rightly so that he won the fight, and he can say what he wants to say now, because everyone else knows he won as well.
Yeah, I think the first time I think I met you was when you'd come back from a loss, from Las Vegas, and you're here.
Yeah,
it was fucking
that one. Yeah.
That was a tough fight, wasn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what it was? And I think you sort of like, throughout your career, you pick up injuries, more so in training than in the fight, as you know. Like, training camps are tough and they're really hard, and especially when you're training for 12 rounds. Like, I remember turning pro with Georgie Vaughan, and he used to talk me through a lot of things, you know, like, as I sort of spoke up before, the transition, and not having to sort of jump around the ring as much, but, you know, take steps, but never lose your feet. You know, rely on them when you need them. Some rushes, just move away. And taught me through a lot of things about boxing. He was so knowledgeable, a fella. So he reminded me a lot of Albo. You could see he was sort of around the same time, the same sort of gyms and stuff. You could see the way he spoke. And used to listen to him a lot about sort of transitioning and stepping and moving and stuff and learning the game. But he also taught me a lot about what, like, the camps and how much you train and having to rest. And I used to be like, I'd get home from the gym. I'd meet Georgia, do the hills for 6 a.m, do the hills, come back, go in the gym at 11 and do my training, come home. And I'd be done by like 1 o'clock in the house, just sitting there, nothing to do. So I'd be like, I'll go for a little run overnight. And I started going for runs overnight, just a little plod, just shaking out, ready to go the next day. And remember George saying in the gym, nah, you can't do that, it's not happening.
I've done it.
And I was like, I had a little plod, nothing bad. And he was like, no, and he was sort of the one who sort of used to instill in me, you've got to rest. It's as important as your training, know what I mean? And as I say, throughout my career, I picked up a lot of things as I went on, but I started learning more that the pro game, it's your job, it's your life, and you've got to sort of rest and recover. Otherwise, you won't get nothing out of it, and you will end up burning out. And he was the first fella, George, who ever like sent me home from the gym and give me like, make sure I have 2 days off and that. And I used to like sitting in the gym itching, wanting to go to the gym, but know that I'd have to listen, and he's the boss, everything. And again, just got going on about like the difference in the games, but it does become more important, and especially on your body as you're getting older, you've got to sort of, listen to your body and know that.
Yeah, definitely.
Niggles come and injuries come. So I picked up a lot of injuries throughout my career and rested them off, but on the fights, I'd sort of always been hand injuries. I'd never sort of had what happened that night with me, where it was just so unexpected, because it was a butt early in the fight, and I heard it swelling, sort of like ringing in my ear. I was thinking like, what's happening here? Do you know what I mean? I could feel that Paul pushing an ice pack on it after every round, and it was just sort of like, not affecting me or anything, but I was just sort of always conscious, like, what's happening with me?
You're aware of it.
Yeah, and then when it happened again in the ninth, sort of seen the ref saying time, and I thought, this must be bad, he's getting a doctor here. And I looked down the corner and seen Joe in the corner, and Joe had his 2 hands on his head. I thought, oh, this is bad, this. And I looked at the screen, and I could just see it hanging off. Ooh. I was like, oh. So as I say, I've gone through my career with like hand injuries, gone like to my ankles and stuff like that, running, but never ever anything like that. I was in an ambulance on the way after the fight, still had my kit on, still had my shorts on. Yeah. Sitting in an ambulance going to an hospital in Las Vegas because my ears ripped off. It was just like,
getting it stitched back on.
As you look, yeah, know what I mean? Just lying in the hospital. And I remember this surgeon come in the hospital, wasn't working, and said, I've just watched your fight, will come in to sort of help me. And like, I touched their lucky and that, because it looks quite normal now, do you know what I mean? But I was just lying there, just like, wow, like, and how lackadaisy, just looking, going, yeah, there's nothing missing, we'll sort that. And I'm lying there, head battered, just lost the fight, you know what I mean? Just like, what's going on here? How am I in hospital? Me and hanging off. Like, if I just got chins or whatever and wasn't good enough, I go, yeah, okay. But where that, I was lying in a bed with me, get my ear stitched together, like.
Lucky you never ended up like mine, mate. It's the same side as well. Yeah. But that must have been a frightening experience.
Yeah, just all different experiences where I can look back on in my career, all I've got.
Does that add though? Does that add to the fact that, like, as you're getting on, that was only a few years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's 17, December 2017.
So does that add to the fact that, like, you think, well, you know what, I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And this is happening, all the pandemic, and there's a lot going on. Is there more injuries to come, and I've got a family to look out for, and
Do you know with that, right? I'm saying I was I had a bit of time up before that fight, just fights falling through, whatever else, and I remember the morning of the weigh-in or the night before the weigh-in, I'd done a little shakeout, and I remember going in my bathroom, like a suite in a hotel in Vegas. It was a lovely room, and I goes in my bathroom where I had my scales. I'm just checking my weight, and I was on the weight, and like, you just like see yourself in the mirror, and I remember thinking to myself, like, pat myself on the back, thinking, know what, you've worked hard here, like, I'm ready. Yeah. I knew I got myself in good shape, where sometimes before, and when you're out of shape, like, you're thinking, am I ever going to get in that shape again? When I'd seen this shape, I was in like world title fights and stuff, and you start doubting yourself, as you say, you have that little voice. Yeah. And I remember looking at myself and thinking, I know what, you've worked hard here, you're ready, and pat myself on the back, like, you're in good shape. And then you fast forward like 36 hours, 48 hours, and I'm in an ambulance going to Aussie with me hanging off, like, and my dad will say, my dad says now, like, I basically retired in that van, in that ambulance. I don't remember it, but he said, I was like, I sat in the van, I sat in the ambulance. There was one in the ambulance, and I went, Dad, come on, get in with me. So my dad got in with me, and I just broke down crying, and I was saying, like, Dad, I can't do this no more. I was like, if I got in, I wasn't good enough, and I got battered, and he knocked me out, and then I was like, I know what, I'd probably say, I'm done. I don't want to make the numbers. I want to try and be the best and that, but where it was just sort of, oh, my ear, and I was like, oh, and I think I broke down in the ambulance crying to him, just saying, I think I'm done. And then I got in the hospital, and I didn't know, because, like, Jade, like, my wife, comes to the fights, but never comes in the fights. So I forgot, obviously, getting out the ring, and I'm in an ambulance. And as I went out the ambulance, I think I said to her, Paul, have you anyone told Jade? She's sitting in the hotel room, doesn't watch the fight. Yeah. Waiting for a phone call.
There.
Yeah, to see how it got on. Yeah. So she's probably praying in the room, thinking, like, oh, I hope he's okay, I still haven't heard nothing.
Yeah.
So Paul phones her. I was like, I went there, I was in the ambulance, but I believe Paul phoned and went, hi, Jay, listen, go outside and get in a taxi to the hospital. And she went, what? Yeah. And he went, it's okay, he's okay, he's here, but he's here to see you. And I've always had problems with my ears. I've like had perforations and operations on them, and I had like a myringoplasty operation on me right ear, where they had to make me a new eardrum. I've always had problems with my ears. And she went, what is it okay? Is it bleeding? Yeah, it's bleeding a bit, just get to the hospital. I didn't want to tell her. So I say, when she flies in the hospital, I'm lying in the bed, and I'd doing like one by my bed, so my dad went out and swapped her, and she come in, and I remember sort of like acting, sort of trying to act like I was okay, and I was just being like, yeah, you know what, I'm alright, like, just a mad thing, and that. So I probably sort of picked myself up a little bit then, whereas my dad was really down when he was in the ambulance with me. I probably got to say him a little bit, but it's more like what sort of in the moment made me realise a few things. I was in the hospital lying there, and all alarms start going off. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm stitching me, so I'm like, what's happening here? And all that. And people get wheeled in. 3 different people got wheeled in, like, killed with gunshots. And then I was just thinking, like, well, in the space of me getting me, I think there was 3 people wheeled in, shot, and like a woman dead, just like going past me, you know, like.
Surreal, innit?
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I'm sitting here crying over the cut on me, you know what I mean? And little things like that always play a part in me, and I think, I think how lucky you are sometimes, you know what I mean? I'm like that over my career now. Sometimes it kills me how much I give to not be like world champion and the best and all this, but I can live with it, because I know sort of, I give everything I had, I give me best in everything I've done, and I got out of the sport, I'm fine, I'm healthy, and I've got a lovely family where I'm happy, do you know what I mean? And I think it's sort of seeing things like that night, where there's people getting wheeled in dead there, shootings, and
the gratitude kicks in.
Yeah, I sort of think, nah, know what am I to cry over spilt milk? Do you know what I mean? I've got a cut on me, and I'm in a bed crying to my dad. Whereas you've got people getting wheeled in dead there. Do you know what I mean? It's just, you see the pros and cons, and even in the boxing game, you've seen people, unfortunately, getting really hurt and killed in boxing, and you think, well, no, exactly, I'm going home to my kids. Do you know what I mean? It's not a problem to me. I've got a little cut me here, that's it.
And you are, you know, I've noticed, and I think everyone else notices that, you know, you're a very close family. And your dad, he plays a big part. He's in every...
Yeah, he does.
He's there. You know, I love your dad,
yeah,
Paul.
He does. He's a boss fella, my dad, and he's sort of been the one in the limelight, but he's been the one that's been seen with us all the time. Everywhere we go, he's our biggest fan, and we all owe him a lot. Do you know what I mean? Especially in boxing, we do owe him a lot. He's put up with a lot of shit, you know, me especially. When I'm making weight, I'm a nightmare to be around, and like, I might walk in and you might be eating something, and I'll just like walk past you and won't say nothing. My dad's eating something, I'll go, you eating again? And like, I bite him right away, do you know what I mean? Because I'm so close to him, I love him, and he's took a lot of us over the years, but he's also been there for all the good times, and you know, we owe him a lot. But more importantly, I'd say, and we'll all say, you know, my mum is the glue for all of us. And my mum's an unbelievable woman. She's like, we all like our lives, my mum, and my dad knows that. My dad wouldn't win an argument with my mum while we're there, do you know what I mean? And we always laugh and joke over it, but my dad's my dad, but your mum's your mum, and it's the same for everyone. You only get one mum, and that's how we've been brought up. And you know, we all had lives, my mum, and she's been always sort of the go-to for us in our family. And she's always like being like sort of the glue for us all. When my dad's been going everywhere and travelling everywhere with us, she's sitting in the bingo, just trying to take her mind off it. But she's the first person we always ring when we get out the ring, or know, we get on to my dad. Have you rang my mum yet? Know what I mean? Because we're all so close to her. So yeah, my dad's our biggest fan, but my mum's the glue.
I've had a few diets off your dad because he's a big. He loves his training, doesn't he, your dad?
Yeah, he's we laugh over it saying he's got 4 sons, all professional boxers, and he trains more than a lot of us. Yeah. He's in the gym twice a day, every day, even now he's 60.
On his bike as well?
Yeah, he rides there on the bike, he doesn't drive, he rides the bike to the gym, does his training and that, and then rides the bike back home, and that's like twice a day. He's up at 5 and I go in the gym. We all say he's round the bend, but he loves it, know what I mean? I just leave him to it. It keeps him healthy, I suppose. And
you've also, you're also like a big advocate of autism, aren't you? Which is, your sister Holly.
Yeah, we've always wore it on our shorts, and any of the fight t-shirts, the kits now always has autism on it, because it was sort of, as you say, my sister Holly. She's 20 now. She'll be 21 in December, which is just scary. It's unbelievable to think that. But
she's the youngest.
She's the youngest of 6 of us. So there was Paul, me, Liam, Callum, the 4 lads, all of the fighters, everyone knows us. But then after that, Chloe, youngest sister, was born in our Holly. And I always remember we were kids, and Holly was only like 1. So it was like 19 years ago. And my mum knew, obviously she had 6 kids, she knew whatever, something wasn't right, and then she got a test and she got diagnosed with autism. So she brought us all in. I remember she had us sitting us on the couch, and she was very upset, my mum, and she was like, look, it's Holly, and she's autistic. And she was crying her eyes out, and we were all like, I always remember like sort of looking at Paul and him looking at me, and we were like, well, what's that? We didn't know
what it was. Yeah.
And we've got a cousin, my dad's sister's daughter, our Faye. You know, lovely girl. She's Down syndrome, so we've always grew up with Downs in the family and knew about it. You know what I mean? And we've never sort of like, we've always been big on Down syndrome and sort of grew up with it around us, but never heard of autism. We were all like a bit clueless, and just sort of that feeling that day when my mum had to sort of explain to us little things about her that we thought, like, we're going to have to raise a bit of awareness about this, because we didn't want other families going through what we went through, type of thing. So from that day on, we sort of always autism on our shorts, and sort of it was more so for like in them days especially, every time one of us was a fight, we'd get loads of messages and loads of people stopping us. What's that mean, autism? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Raising awareness.
We just explain, explain. And then if the minute their family get it, they go, oh yeah, that's what that Stephen Smith, Callum Smith, Paul Smith, that's what they had in their shorts, and that's what it was. And it sort of raised the awareness, just a few conversations. But not that it helps much nowadays, because I don't know a family that isn't affected by autism.
No, I don't. Because,
and it's crazy. Where, as I say, that was 19 years ago. Holly's 20 now. She was about 1 at the time, and we didn't know. My mum said, look, Holly's autistic, and we all looked at each other and felt a bit embarrassed that we didn't know.
Yeah.
And now you say autism, and I don't know any family won't go, oh yeah, blah 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 blah, or you know, a family aren't affected with it. So it's scary, the thought of how much it's grown, and people not sort of understanding and having to live with it. But
see, when I was a kid growing up, right, we never recognised it as autism. Yeah. Right? So we're the same as you. There's 6 of us in our family. There's four brothers and 2 sisters. Yeah. Same as yourselves. And my brother Joe was called handicapped. That was it. There was no. Yeah. They never got
disabled. And that's it. Yeah.
He's got a disability. He's handicapped, and it was difficult to kind of, because I think it was around about the age of 2. We didn't know, he wasn't talking, he was just bum shuffling. Yeah. Until he was about 3, he wouldn't walk. Everything was delayed. You know, his communication, he was just making noises. And we were told he was handicapped, and I remember my mum coming back from a diagnosis and breaking down, and you know, it was a shock to us all. But I was quite young, because I was like 6 or 7 at the time. So I wasn't really understanding of what it was, but it's only like through the years, and like I believe it's when he was getting bullied, right? Because it's not visible autism in most kids. Yeah, people know this. It's like you can get on a bus, you can go down the street, and you can see someone, and you think, you know, they look normal. Well, Joe sitting there looks normal, doesn't say nothing. Yeah. The minute he just say something, he's being called a mong, he's being called a spaz, and I've heard this, right? Yeah. He's been targeted by young kids. Like I've always said, kids are kids, and you know, they can be cruel. I've been in that era of myself as growing up, you know. So I'm not like saying I'm like a holy done thou, but it's difficult to be an earshot of it and not do nothing. So what I, like yourselves, feel is important is to raise that awareness and allow others to see that it is a disability. And the messages that I get, similar to yourselves, is just incredible, and it's overwhelming, you know.
And you realise the reach it has, because again, the amount of families affected by it are unbelievable. numbers are extraordinary nowadays, where maybe years ago it wasn't. It might be one in every so often, whereas now I don't know a family who aren't affected or know about autism. And you know, when you sit down about like as kids, we'd never ever said that way we couldn't. That was like, because as I say, we grew up with a Down syndrome cousin. So
you had that experience.
Someone of us said it. I don't know what it was. I remember as kids in the street and someone shouted that word. And I always remember my mum dragged them in. One of the lads, and she flipped and she said, "Get your shoes on. You're going to Donna's and you're going to say that word in front of Donna." We were only young. Yeah. We were crying, please don't. As it was, I always just point at me or Liam. We were always the two always getting nicked. And it was like one of us two. And we were like, sorry. And it just sort of never got said again. It was always a word that's just never said in our house. Because we grew up around it, as I say, we knew about Downs and that. But this autism got sprung on us and we were like, what's that? No, I didn't know. And sort of growing up with it now in our family. Yeah. The hard thing about it, what we noticed in the early days, was, I hate saying the word normal, but Holly used to come to, like, we used to love like the Wacky Warehouse, the little place, and then she'd go and she'd lie in the balls and stuff. So we'd always have one of us with her. So my mum and dad or one of them would bring her, and we'd get in the little ball pit with her and play with her. And Holly is perfectly normal to look at, normal little kid. And again, it's a horrible word, normal, but if you look at her, you wouldn't dream there's anything wrong with her. And she doesn't understand, like, she's got no concept of time, Holly. So when she gets dropped off at the bus for school, when she was all through school, my dad's have to have her tea ready, and food had to be ready. Otherwise, she'd just go over to the oven and start like trying to drag it. She doesn't understand that it was hot and it'll burn her. And she gets bread and it's the toaster with it and doesn't understand why it's not toast. She doesn't understand, she's got to wait for a few minutes for it to cook. She's got no concept of time. So she'd get out the ball pit, Holly, and she'd just walk over to a table and she'll see like a fruit shoot and she'll just grab it and drink it. And they go, "Hey, what are you doing?" And we go, "Oh, mate, listen, stop, I'll get you one." And go and grab another one. And after explain, she's autistic. And you're like, "What are you on about?" And we're on to like explain to people all the time. But my dad nearly had murder loads of times. My dad's got no patience with people like that over it. Yeah. He'd just kick off. You've been talking to him, we'd be like, "Dad, he doesn't understand." And we'd try and explain, she's autistic, Holly, she can't talk. And it's sort of only when you try and speak to her, you think, oh yeah, because you wouldn't know nothing looking at her. And you go talk to her, and she'll always like, she'll make noises. Yeah. And you go, something's not right here. Yeah. Because of how normal she looks again. But it's sort of like that growing up, where from a young age in the Wacky Warehouse, no one understood, and she was taking the drinks and he was trying to kick off on her. So like as she got a bit older, it's like people know now and people understand now, because again, not the look of has changed. She still looks like a normal young woman, but it's sort of now the amount of people that know, the amount of people that are affected by it. Like if I walk in somewhere now and I hear someone or see someone go, I'll go, "Oh, look at that kid," and I'll just know right away, and I'll just have more understanding towards it because I've seen it and it happens. You know what I mean? Where it's just knowledge, and that's all it is.
I know when you haven't got the knowledge and you're not aware of what's out there and people's behaviours and disabilities, you can become a little bit closed-minded and act a little bit judgmental. And it's our Joe's dead obsessive. Like he's obsessive. You tell him something, he won't forget it. He can tell you dates. He's great at dates, like the Rain Man. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You can't look at. He can't put a text on a phone or anything like that. Right. He can't read right or nothing. But he's just like the Rain Man. Boom. He'll go. He'll give you all the fixtures to the football.
It's amazing.
Right. He doesn't know who plays for Everton. One Everton fan of the year. He's a big Everton fan. You ask him to name one Everton player, and he go, "Big drunk." That's it. Yeah. Right. So I'm like, so like you're going for Everton fan of the year, right? You're a massive advocate for the EFC. You've never been to a game. I don't like people. Right, this is what I don't like being around people. The crowd scare me. Yeah. And you don't know who plays with them. No. So they phoned me up and said, look, you can have a visit off any Everton player, right? Because he's won this, and any top signed by the biggest Everton striker, whatever. And he said, who does he want? He went, Big Dunk.
Yeah,
That was it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
It's
And
ways,
it's just the innocence. And I've seen like your dad on Instagram with Ollie, and it just amazes me what he does. How he spends a lot of time.
Yeah, it's his little girl, isn't it? So he'd never let anyone else, do anything for him. What
He
him and
couldn't
him could do.
do, yeah.
He put on an unbelievable amount of time with it, and it's amazing to see, especially having kids now myself and knowing how time consuming they are as well. As that it's 24/7 for them, and it's good because it makes me proud knowing that like my sister's looked after as well as can be. But that is the thing with autism, where I know it's the kids where they won't be in like crowds or just throw them off. And like our Holly's always been like, she'll come in our house, and if there's people in our living room, like even two people she doesn't know, never mind a crowd of people in the house, she just goes boom, right in her own. She's got like her own little room with sensory room in our house where your mum and dad got like a garage converted into like a sensory room for her, and that's Holly's room, and she'll just start right in there to be on her own. If she walks in, there's a few people in the house, she'll just think she'll just go right in the room. And it's a thing with her, she'd never go in a crowded room, Holly. She just wouldn't be there. That's why it's hard if there's any like family parties and stuff. It's not for the lack of wanting her there, she just wouldn't go. She'd go in and just be like, block her ears and just want to go.
Joe's a bit the opposite really in that area, his family's great around that. You know what I mean? People he doesn't know, it's a bit there's not a I think he's sort of evolved a bit as he's in the past couple of years, because he's a little bit of a fame monger now. He always says to me, I want to be on the red carpet, I want to be on the telly. I say, why is that, lad? You don't know what it is. Put him in front of a camera and he changes, and he's he
comes out on it.
And there's something about him in his innocence, and he's I think sometimes I'll say that he's blessed with autism because he hasn't got the worries and the stress. He's 40, he's 42, 43, going on 43, right? And no one believes you. You look at him and he just doesn't age, he's ageless. I mean, obviously he hasn't got the worries and the stress and all that we grow up, especially like the likes of like the lives that I've led anyway. And I felt like I've neglected them over the years, and it's not because of wanted to, it's just because of lifestyles and the choices that I've made. And I like your dad, and that's why I love what your dad does. And like you said, it's his little girl, and I think to myself, you know what, he's my little brother. I'm his oldest brother, right? My dad passed away, so he hasn't been. And my dad, he did go to my dad's, and he used to sit. He used to sit with my dad because my mum and dad went together near the end of the relationship, and our Joe still go to my dad's and sit there and have every Friday have a fish dinner with him. And when my dad went, it was just he just goes, when you go, you go. That's it. That's how he deals with things. My dad passed away. He said, how do you feel? When you go, you go. And I go, it's just so sad that he hasn't got that kind of empathy. And that feeling that we do as like you said, normal. What is normal?
I hate the word, because
that means that
it's been bounced around so often, especially because of since the autism being in our family. It's sort of like the word normal, and because normal kids, blah blah, and normal little girl, and you're like,
so does that mean she's abnormal?
It's hard to say, innit? But I say it myself, but I always sort of like excuse it first and say, look, when you see a normal, person, I'm gonna say average, because you see a normal kid in a play area, and you'd excuse her thinking that Holly's like everyone else. But she's not. She is different to other kids because she can't speak a word of English, and her understanding's very different. Like, she's an arse in a lot of ways. She knows what she's doing in a lot of ways. And my mum will tell you that. She buys and sells my mum in a lot of ways. But then there's other ways where she's just not. She's got no understanding of certain things. Like I just said then, where she'll eat the bread in the toaster and won't understand and cannot fathom why it's not toast. You know what I mean? And she's seen the bread puff in the toaster, and my mum buttered it and gave it, and she's loved it and eats the toast, and she loves a piece of toast, but then she won't understand when she's doing it why it's not toast. She doesn't get it. She's got to push the buttons on. She's got to wait while it cooks it. Do you know what I mean? The whole thing just doesn't mean not to. And the same, but if she bursts in a bit early from school, and my dad hasn't got her tea done, she'll fight with him to get at that oven to pull her tea out when we'll understand that it's red hot. Do you know what I mean? And it'll burn her. So little things like that.
Things are ready for her.
Yeah, things like that. She can't work out. But then there's other things where she's an ass and she'll like make you laugh and things, how much on the ball she is. But then there's other things, as I say, it's mad. Well, I could love to have 10 minutes in her head and just see how she understands things, but it's something I'd never know.
And you know, I agree with you. Joe's a bit of an ass. He's a bit of a flirt as well. On the slide, you know what I mean? He's I've seen it. You know, like, you know, for a bit of attention, you know, me knee. You know, when there's a few girls around in one of his clubs and all, they're all pampering him. Oh, Joe, you're okay. He'll start throwing the ball to work. And I'll just look. He's a great actor in that area. And I think, slippery you, lad. You see when he goes like that. Well, he just loves, like people making a fuss of him, you know what I mean? And, you know, but it's, you know what?
He's entitled, isn't he?
Yeah, it's entitled. Yeah. He's entitled to it because he's you know, he brings a lot of it's like your family, you know. They bring a lot to the community as well.
Definitely, you know? Definitely. And look, at the end of the day, it's sort of that understanding what's grew of late and sort of is, I think, helping and impacting on the right way, like the value of life for autistic people and you know, kids right through to adults, because it's sort of losing a little bit more now of that, what you said before, what used to hate you before about that kid skitting and that, whereas, as I say, the normal now, if a kid sees an autistic child, adult, or whatever, and knows, oh, that's like our Holly, that, or that's like our Joe, that, they sort of think twice now and won't sort of give them an hard time, and it's sort of adding to the value of their own lives.
See, I haven't really spoke about this today, but I think I will do, to be honest. You know, like, you know, my brother raised, you know, money for, he's done a few charities over the years, the past couple of years. He's raised for different charities, and, you know, for All the Ray and also some clubs in the community. And we raised money for All the Ray and also our last one, and we passed some money to this autism club that Joe goes to, and the guy who I spoke to was so overwhelmed at what Joe had done, right? It was like, he told me exactly what they were doing with the money, and it kind of upset me really, because he said, you know what, there's some kids that go to these clubs and they get to a certain age, you know, they're in the 40s, 50s, but their parents pass away. Yeah. He said, what we do, he said, we're building lodges and homes, you know, so we get them collectively as a unit. Yeah. You know, and I started, you know, it starts to make you think about your own family. You know, my mum and my dad, and my dad passed away. You know, my mum, she's his carer. You know, and then my brothers and sisters, what's happening, and, you know, where does it leave? Yeah. The likes of Joe and Holly and people out there who, you know, obviously they've got us in their lives. Yeah. While they're growing up, but it's when they get older. Yeah. Like, that's where the massive transition from an autistic child to an autistic adult, which no one understands unless they live with it. Because again, you have your parents sort of, your parents have all your rights as an autistic child, but once you get to an autistic adult, they sort of lose them. Yeah. So then you're sort of like assessed and it's lost in the system. Yeah, it's not right yet, because, as you say, if they deem you to be like a bit of a danger, you get put in a home or whatever, and then what? Do you know what I mean? It's like, and as you said, then it's more so about if they lose people around them, like, you know, God forbid, growing up, if Holly was to have lost me mum or dad, then I don't know what standards of living she'd have had now, because they've done so much for her and still do every day, you know. And so we've probably never had the chance to say, like, thanks to my mum and dad for, in a way, but they wouldn't want thanking. It's the daughter. Like, I wouldn't want anyone thanking me for how I treat my kids, but nice, you know, I love kids, but we love Holly as our sister. You know, we've all got so much love for Holly, so it's lovely for us to see, to go overnight and just know that, you know, my mum and dad absolutely give their lives and dedicate their lives to my sister. It's a lovely feeling, do you know what I mean? But it's probably something we've never had the chance to tell them, so it's a nice thing if they know. Yeah, and that is, and you know, I'm sure your dad will be watching this, hopefully, and, you know, he knows that he's got a big heart and he does a lot of good things. You know, he came along with your Chloe as well, and your dad came along to, you know, walk up Snowden was.
Yeah.
That was it.
You know, never the end of it. He loved it, like, but he let us know about it like a few times.
We were walking down at the end. By the end of it, me and your dad, we were walking down that hill backwards because it was
saying how hard it is.
It was hard.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially for Joe,
Yeah.
because we had to, step by step. It was like one foot in front of the other. It was like baby steps for him, and it was killing him. But he had that tenacity, that he's not giving up, and he knew there's something about him. Maybe it was pride.
Yeah, the determination's probably got him down, but as you say, you don't realise until you've done it. The impact on every step going downhill and the amount of weight what's falling on your knees and on your joints is so hard, and like everyone just thinks, I'd rather run downhill than up it because it's so easy, just you weight, your momentum and stuff, but it's not that easy. You've got to hold it all coming down, and the injuries and stuff, especially as you get older and your joints are going, the injuries not coming down an hill are unbelievable. You just, as you said then, who'd think about walking backwards coming down an hill, but it sort of seems to ease up on your knees, doesn't it? Which is mad.
It frees up. But so going back, right, this, you said something earlier on, right, which kind of like I was reflecting on as we were talking. The obsession. In training. Right, and you're saying like we'd go to the gym Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right, and then we do our little bits of runs through the week on our own. But there was times, and I remember it. I grew up in the era of like the Rocky movies, Stallone, Rocky 1, Rocky 2, the franchise of it all. And I used to like wake up like early hours in the morning. I don't know what was going on. And go for a run. I find myself running at 3 in the morning.
I did, and I used to do it, and at times you think, what am I doing this for? I'm just losing me rest by getting up this early and stuff. But I started realising it was giving me more rest and recovery in between before my next session, because once it become as important, it wasn't become me life really. I think I boxed England schoolboys, England under 17s, England under 19s, 2 England seniors. So it was sort of like, from my first year boxing, it was always important. It was always sort of like international level. So I had a great career in that sense. But I never sort of had the time when it was just a laugh. It was always important to me.
It was always a job.
Yeah, it was always sort of like my job, even from a kid. So right through school, I sort of knew I was always going to be a boxer. So it was one of them where I did used to do it and I used to become obsessed with it. But I was sort of, my brothers still give me stick over it, how sort of superstitious I was. And that creeps into the sport of boxing a lot. And a lot of people have it. But mine was just obsessive, like over the top, where I used to spent like 2 years turning up to show. I used to box in my lucky socks and my lucky boxies and turn up the same like trachea on and stuff. And everyone in the boxing must have thought I only got one pair of clothes in. It was because I kept winning. I never lost a fight.
And that was your lucky.
Yeah, it was like my lucky rig, my lucky setup, and that was it. And I used to pack my bag the same way, put my boots in first, my shorts with my vest on top. And it was mad when I look back. I laughed my head off now thinking,
so you think
wow,
if you'd have folded that a little bit different?
If I would have put my boots in
it's
after my kit,
I'd
have lost the fight. And I look back and I think, what was I doing? And I'd say it was the first fight, 118 on the run, and I lost one to Kevin Mitchell. And I was like, never again. I'm never getting in that sort of mindset again. And then, weirdly enough, I won my next 18. And then I lost the fight. And then that just set me off again, thinking, wow, why was it 18 again? Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be 18 again. I was like, and I was obsessed with numbers anyway, and everything was always sort of numbered in my head, and I used to count my steps and all that. I was weird with numbers always. But my obsessiveness and that compulsiveness sort of come into my training then, where ask anyone who trained me, they'll always tell you how much I give and how hard I worked, and I was sort of went in every gym wanting to be the hardest trainer. I always wanted to give everything I had, and it was never about anyone else to me. It was always me versus me, but I used other people to help me and sort of drive me. Like if someone was running next to me, I'd run with them and try and keep up. And again, I'm not saying I was the best runner in the world, but I always give everything I had. And then in the gym, I'd throw as many punches as I could all the time. I'd move as much as I could. I'd give everything I had in the gym to be as fit as I could on the night. And the obsessiveness sort of come with me where I used to train a lot, and it was sort of only when I got older and realised a bit more through like George and that way, I sort of learned, I've got to rest, I've got
recovery,
to
we don't
recover as
forget,
well.
like, and I always say this, and I'm like Darren, my mate says it, like recovery's important, but like when you're still obsessed, like if I miss a day training, which is not a day off, I start beating myself up and I start thinking of, don't look this and look that. It's just it comes in so quickly. But have you enjoyed your career?
Loved it. I absolutely love my career. I still love boxing. I loved the time I spent in boxing. More so probably the people I met.
Yeah.
Met some unbelievable people, friends, family to me now, do you know what I mean? Where maybe if I never boxed, I probably wouldn't have met them. And that means more to me sort of than probably anything else. The people I've met in boxing, I wouldn't want to start naming names because I know I'd leave someone out and it'd do me head in afterwards.
Yeah.
But
like the
people
18,
know.
like the 18 on the run, and then you forget one.
People know who I mean. Like the people I've come across with, when our paths have crossed, whether I've boxed them, sparred with them, or whether I've just been in the same team as them, same gym as them. People know, like people I met in boxing were something I'd go back and do my whole career again just to meet them people again. You know what I mean? They were just some unbelievable people in the sport because you've all got sort of similar mindsets, similar respect levels, and it's nice you meet some like really nice people in boxing, and it's just because a lot of us are from the same background. So a lot of us have got into boxing for the same reasons. There's a lot of kids get into boxing because they were bullied in school, and rather than sort of the school bullies, everyone thinks people who don't know boxing think it's always like boxers are a gang of bullies, and that, and they're not. You meet some proper gentlemen in boxing.
There's so much though, like MMA, the UFC. The sports change differently.
Yeah.
There's loads of different kind of.
Yeah.
And I went to an evening with John Fury, and we listened to John Fury, and someone asked the question of John and said, "What do you think of this, like Paul Hogan and Mayweather?" And he went, "You know what? Brilliant." He said, "You know what? It brings different kind of
if it gets people watching the sport, then why not?"
He said it brings a different audience to the sport and this, and I you know, because people are easy to jump on and go like, you know, this shouldn't happen, man. But you know what? It does happen, and that's how it is.
I say sort of leading to it. I mean, listen, I hear some of the things they say, and I laugh when they're talking about like when they're slagging Floyd Mayweather off. Floyd Mayweather's won world titles in like 5 weight divisions and 50 fights unbeaten. You've got to respect the man, what he's done.
Money.
Whether you like him or you don't, he's money mad. But he built a career based on his own and not losing, and he got every dollar out of it he could, and he's absolutely smashed the sport and done unbelievably well. So to hear him getting slagged off in interviews off a YouTuber didn't sit right with me. But their involvement in the sport, so what?
What do you think of you know, a few more questions and I'll tie it up. But what do you think of like Tyson Fury and as an heavyweight? You know, what's your thoughts on him?
I think he's brilliant. His story's unbelievable, like what he come back from and stuff after winning every title and then going to like 28 stone or something like that. Unbelievable story, an unbelievable like comeback. His comeback was unbelievable, what he done and the shape he got himself in and everything. But just in terms of the man himself in his boxing, I think he's brilliant because I think he does something what the rest don't. I think you've had all your sort of your big punches, and I don't think he's a big puncher for the heavyweight, but he's still, I wouldn't like a shot off him, do you know what I mean? But he does things what the rest don't do in terms of his movement, his reach. He's got like the longest arms in boxing history or something. He's got a mad reach. But his movement, his reach, and his boxing ability.
Matrix, isn't he?
Yeah, his boxing ability, and how he can avoid shots. You don't get no one at heavyweight putting his hands behind his back and standing on the ropes, like riding shots. Like he does things what the rest don't do for me, and that's why I always put him sort of favourite on the night. But he has got it in him. He's got that mad temperament where he could be knocked out. I wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if someone chins him. But I wouldn't put past him either getting up and winning the fight, as what I thought he did with the first Wilder one, or in a rematch winning again, because I don't think there's no one he couldn't beat.
So what do you think of see, like, you know, we get all these, like, as we're growing up, we get like the likes of Ricky Hatton, we get like you know, Eubank, you know, and they kids then start Campbell Hatton. What do you think of Campbell? And
look, listen, I don't know his boxing background well enough to sort of judge him. I seen his debut and I fell for him a bit. I felt like it was a bit too much pressure on him, and I felt like he tired. You could see how tired he was in there, but it was just the pressure. And I think you'll see the kid blossom a bit more now with sort of the round under his belt. He's been there, he's done it now, and then he gets a couple more fights now. I think he's back this weekend to try and go to 3-0. I think you'll see him, you know, blossom and flourish a bit more, and he will be a better fighter. Listen, it's too hard. You can't compare him to his dad, and it's the same with Conor Benn. I like Conor Benn. I think he's had a lot of pressure on his shoulders because Nigel Benn was an unbelievable fighter, same as Ricky Hatton. And to go in now and fight with that pressure on your shoulders is unbelievable for them. And I like what Conor Benn said about, you know, he doesn't have to. You know, people talk about like hungry fighters and who've got nothing. I don't have to fight. I'm driving around Range Rovers and that, and I like what he says. he's fighting because he wants to fight, because he can't fight, and good on him.
It's like Marvin Hagler.
But the same with the two of them. I just think, let them have their own careers. If they go on and be a British champion and leave it there, well done. If they go on and win a world title, well done. But let them be themselves. Don't compare to the dad, because it's so hard.
That's it. It's going to be so hard.
You can't ever lace their boots until you're done, and then you can have the little laugh and joke saying it was better, but you're never gonna. I
like Jimmy Airy's son, Kent Shamrock, right?
Yeah.
And he hasn't gone with his dad's name. It's
he can fight as well, but again, if you come from Liverpool and we all grew up sort of like in the park, near the Oligan, and unbelievable. I remember being there, unbelievable, like loudest noise there at the time. I was only kidding, unbelievable how loud it was, and good fighters, but let the kids have their own career. You're doing them no favours by comparing them.
So is that what you do with your own child? If
my kids want to get involved in boxing, I'd be made up with them getting into boxing because of the discipline, and as I said then, that the people you're meeting, the respect levels you get from boxing are unbelievable. And I've seen some rough ass kids come into gyms and come out gentlemen, and just through learning, like, no one understands. Everything's the discipline, everything's the coach stands you there and makes you say please and thank you, and it's not about that. But you don't even know when you've done it when a kid smacks you right in the end of your nose, and then a coach goes time, and you've got to go like that and shake his hand. Every ounce of your body wants to belt him straight back, and the coach has gone time, so you've got to shake his hand and say good shot and walk away. And that restraint levels and that is discipline, what you want your kids to have, where your mum tells you no and you just stop and you listen and you crack on with your day. And that's sort of what I'd love my kids to get, but I'd like to see them fight. I couldn't. Everyone knows who sees us box. I can't keep still. I'm the most nervous when my brothers box. I could only imagine one of my sons like,
exactly.
All daughter now, because girls boxing's flying, isn't it? So I couldn't imagine it. I pray they don't ever fight.
So what's the plan for you now since you finished boxing?
I don't know. Do you know what? I've sort of I keep sort of say like popping ideas up and what should I do next and that, and I've dragged a year out of doing nothing, and I think she's ready to get rid of me now. So I think I'm gonna have to think of something to do next. But I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for me. I've sort of, we've got a few ideas as brothers what we're gonna do, and sort of doing a few things together. But regarding myself, what I am gonna do, I don't know. I probably will be involved in boxing again down the line, but for now, I want a little break from boxing. I've done it all my life, and it's always been important to me. So I wouldn't mind a little break from it. I'm still going to be around. My brothers are still boxing and that, but I don't sort of want to finish my career and go right. I'm a coach now. Who wants me to train him? I'm not.
Think about what you want to do first.
I have a little break from boxing. I'm going to do some time with my family, my kids, and that, and
brilliant.
Start like getting involved in something, earning money again, and then go from there. Sort of do something because I want to do it, not because I have to do it. Do you know what I mean? If I'm sort of settled down and I've got money coming in and stuff and everything's okay, then I can come back to boxing when I'm ready to give it me all, because I know through being a kid myself, there's nothing worse than you go in a gym, especially if I go into the amateur club. As I said, I was go back into the Sunday and start coaching, and there's kids there and they go, hey, Stephen Smith gonna coach, and the kid's made up. And I start coaching the kid and I get a little bond with the kid, and the next minute I'm like, I haven't time for that boxing, and I leave it.
It's going to be happy.
Kills that kicks. I remember myself, coach coming to the gym and started saying, I was buzzing, going home, like, Dad, guess who's in the gym today? And made up, and then the coach went there a week later, and I was gutted, do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't want to do that to kids. So I'll only do sort of get back in boxing when I'm ready and I've got the time to put into it. And
brilliant.
I will give back to boxing soon.
Nice one, Steve. So we're coming to the end of the podcast, and they usually say this to every guest, and is there any pearls of wisdom, anything you'd say to a young Stephen Smith coming through the doors of life?
Well, a young Stephen Smith, Jimmy Albo said to me, you only get out what you put in, and that was the best line I ever got in my life, and it's still the line I use to kids myself. I go around school sometimes and talking to kids, and then I say that to kids, whether it be your school work, whatever walk of life you're in, but massively in boxing, you only get out what you put in, and that's not just sort of on the bag. That's sort of everything you give to the sport. Whether it's your discipline, whether you're putting it in where you're going home and you're eating the right stuff. But whatever you do, whatever you put into the sport, you'll get back. And I'm a big believer that you only get what you put in life. But if I could go back to myself as a kid, I'd sort of probably say take it in more, just enjoy it more. I was a bit too I'd say because it was first year boxing, I was national champion. I was boxing for England. I was 13, I was in Russia, in Moscow, boxing for England, so it was always important. So I think if I look back as a kid, I'd say, listen, enjoy it all. Take it all in. Like, stop being so... Life or death for me. So when I lost at 13 to Mitchell, I come home and I locked myself in my room for 2 days. My mum had to, like, sort of give me the hell and get me out of the room. He said, Sally, Mum, you haven't got a clue. And I stayed in my room for 2 days. Wouldn't thought my world was over because I lost the fight at 13 years of age. Like,
just enjoy it.
As you look now, you're like, you're Anthony Joshua's, Tyson Fury's. You didn't think they were boxing at 13. It means nothing. So just enjoy it, do you know what I mean? And keep learning. But I'd say to myself, just enjoy it all and take it all in, because before you know, it's done.
It is.
You know what I mean?
With that,
time goes so fast.
thank you.
No worries.
Thanks, Dave.
No problem, mate.